Well, thank you, Carrie, and hi, everybody. I recognize some names. First, I always like to say hi individually. So, of course, we've got Carrie Roth from Student Life and Leadership, Allison Newkirk, hi, Dakota, hi, nice to meet you. Is it Ty? Hi. We've got, oops, my thing isn't scrolling down. I think I saw Sherry Brown on here. Um, Couple of others. My little scrolly thing isn't working, but it will. So welcome, and I'm so happy to have you here today. Thank you for joining. Everything we do is a project. And so my name is Chris Goodell, as Carrie mentioned, and I joined FSCJ as a professor of business in 2013, and having been an adjunct professor since 2001. And I love what I do. I just absolutely love what I do. And I bring over 30 years of business experience. I see some students from my classes, primarily in operational efficiency or operations and in human resources. I would really like to see if I can get this just, oh, there we go. It's scrolling down lightly. Carrie, do you know why that my little mousy thing isn't scrolling so I can see who all the participants are?
That's a great question. I don't understand. I can see the 9, Sharon Brown, Sherry Brown, Ty, Emily, Dakota,
Emily. Okay, now it's working. Emily, hello. Ty, Sherry, Sharon, Stephanie. So nice to see you. Welcome. We got it to work now. Thank you. So again, I bring over 30 years of business experience, primarily in the areas of human resources and operational efficiency, or you could say operations. I'm primarily in the financial services industry. Good afternoon. So just to lay some ground rules, feel free to post in the chat. I want this to be extremely interactive. As those who've been in my classes know, I like interaction. It's not just me chatting. We learn so much from each other. And so please share your own tips, your own techniques, something maybe that you have in mind that you've been thinking about as a project and that you want to carry with you through this next 45 minutes to an hour, probably an hour's program. So just to lay some basics where we are going to go over some project management theory and methodology, and then we're going to have an activity and some other discussion around it. But do post in the chat and let's make this a really interactive session. So here at FSCJ, we offer the opportunity first for our to talk a little bit to our employees and our staff to obtain project management experience by being on a project, maybe a Six Sigma project, or by taking professional development classes on project management. They're run by Steve Beard. And simply just using one of the tips that you're going to learn today, and that everything we do is a project. And as a student in your own careers, and I often say, I want you to write this down, this is pearls of wisdom. In your own careers, raise your hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of this project. I want to be a part of this activity. I want to be a part of this FSCJ happenings. In the email that we receive every week of all the different things that are happening through Carrie's area, raise your hand and be a part of that. Get yourself known, get yourself out there. And say yes when asked to be on a committee, on a project team, on any sort of activity, whether that be here at the college or within your, Carrie, is that you clapping? Yay! Within the college or within your own work, wherever you are working. Seek out opportunities and continue to learn. Maybe this is just the tip of the iceberg of what you're going to be learning in project management. And as that tip of the iceberg, continue to dive down and deeper and seek out those opportunities to make yourself more and more valuable to your organization, to your families, to your staff, to whomever, and most importantly, to yourself. All right, so with that in mind, just going to take a quickie chat, make sure I said hi. Hi, David. Nice to see you. Thank you for being here. I think I've caught everybody and said hi. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me just ask real quick in the chat, any questions before we get started? Any questions? And as questions come up along the way today, because this is a project, as questions come up, definitely put them in the chat. Okay, oops. Okay, so projects bring us joy and peace. They really do. It's a vital skill for our own personal success. Think about it. Managing a family budget, planning a wedding, remodeling a house. Now, these are all personal type things, you know, in our own lives. Completing a college degree. And do I dare say, completing this semester. Right, here we are in spring semester. So we've only got a couple more weeks and we're going to learn that we start with the end in mind. So that end is rapidly approaching. So completing this semester and many other projects, personally and professionally, can benefit from a good, solid project management foundation. And here is a sample from a student in what's called Introduction to Project Management class, where we take a project, we take something very small and use the steps that we're going to learn today on project management. And this student wanted a barn door. It's something as simple, and I don't want to say simple that it was simple to do, but something that is personal, something for our home, something that makes us, and again, brings us peace and joy. And she said, "Hi, Professor, I love my closet. Thank you for teaching me how to manage a project." She may never have gotten it done hadn't been for that focus on project management. And so frequently we'll think to ourselves, oh, project management, gosh, that's really, you know, hard, or it sounds really difficult. It's not. And we're going to learn the tips today. So I think we've got a couple more people who joined. Nope, I think we're good. All right. I have to go out here and then there we go. Okay. So what is a project? It's something that's temporary. It's not something that goes on and on and on like a task that we do every day. It's a temporary endeavor and it has a start and an end date. And I always like to use the analogy of a football field, where you're starting on one goal post and you're trying to end up and you are ending up for that goal on the other. And so it's something temporary, like building a house, like a Girl Scout cookie drive, like making a birthday cake, or putting a bike together for your son or your daughter to bring them happiness. So it's a temporary endeavor, something that has a start and end date. Now in business, it may be years, say for example, for a new car, you know, a new type of car model, or if you think of SpaceX, I mean, that takes years. But for us, for purposes of today, we're looking at something, of course, it's temporary and has a start and end date that can be rather short. But again, you would have to define that. And it's done to achieve an objective. It's done to have that cookie drive. It's done to build that house. It's done to make that birthday cake. It's done to finish the semester. And it's also further down, perhaps, it'll be finished when you achieve your degree. And that's when the objective is reached. So I like to say, again, if we use that football analogy, that football field, you know, move those chains, get that first down, keep going, and it's temporary, and you'll make it from point A to point B, and that start and end date. And we always begin with the end in mind and work backwards. What is it that we want to achieve, and by when do we want to achieve it? And we work back from that. So if we look at today as just an example of being here at this last lecture series, it's an hour. This is a project. It's a temporary endeavor. At least on my piece, it's an hour. For Carrie's part of the project, it's longer because he's got others coming up that he's working on. But for this one today, Wednesday, March 24th from 12 to 1, it's an hour-long temporary endeavor. It's got a start and end date and time. The work done to achieve the objective is for you to gain basic knowledge, to gain at least one insight into project management, into getting things done. And why is that important? And to sustain your own success in your own careers, whether that be as an FSCJ employee or as a student getting out there in the working field, already working. And this is just going to be one more thing in your toolbox, one more thing in your career portfolio. So that's an objective that'll be reached within this hour. But maybe you had to change some things around in order to be here. You may have had to readjust your schedule a little bit and maybe change some tasks in order to be a part of this project, let's say a project team here today. So a project is something that's temporary and has a start and end date. We always start with the end in mind and work backwards. What is it that we want to achieve? And it ends when that objective is achieved. It's not something that what we call operationalized, and it's something that goes on and on forever. So a project, that's why I say raise your hand, because it's not going to go on forever. It's just going to be temporary. Yeah, it might be 6 months or it might be an hour, but that's what a project is all about. Gary's giving me the thumbs up. Thank you so much. And, any questions along the way or any thoughts, please go ahead and once again, put them in the chat. All right, so I think I have to go. Let's see. Here we go. All right, so this gets a little technical, but I have to make sure that I cover this because it really is the basis of project management, and they're called constraints, but it's really what are the three things that are our guardrails, that are the guardrails in projects. I don't even say project management, really any project. First, what's the scope? What work will we be done, or what work needs to be done will be done as part of the project? What's the end result? A birthday cake. What work will be done as part of baking a birthday cake? And we're going to have an activity in a little bit. Or that Girl Scout cookie drive. Or what does it take to successfully complete this semester? And success is dependent upon you and your definition of success. But by May 14th, this project of spring 2021, I had to think for a minute, spring 2021 will be completed. Then what is the cost? What should it cost to complete a project? If you, let's say using the bike example, say we're building a bike for our son or daughter, whomever, what is the cost? How much of your time does it cost? What are the resources that are needed? And then time, how long will it take? I'll read that in a second. How long will it take to complete the project? Right, Carrie, exactly. Projects don't go on forever and ever. That's when things become what we call operationalized or put into the business or put into the day-to-day tasks and work. Right, that's when exactly projects are not daunting. I hear that a lot from students. Oh, I'm really scared about this class, intro to project management. And I don't remember, Stephanie, if you have been in that class with me. I'm trying to look, Emily, trying to look at some of my names, where they almost think it's daunting, project. No, it's really breaking it down. And we're going to talk about that next. And focusing on scope, cost, and time. And boom, it's got a start and an end date. It's temporary and it's not going to go on forever. And it leads to quality. This is probably the most important point I almost jumped through here. It leads to quality. What do we need to satisfy? And you see where I have the customer in parentheses. Well, who's the customer? Could be a family member. Could be that person who you're baking the birthday cake for. It could be the Girl Scout troop. It could be a family member who wanted that barn door closet, the barn door for the closet. It could be all of us, all of you who are graduating in May. It could be those of us who just want to finish this semester. Or it could be your son or daughter or whomever that you're building the bike for, and to see that smile on their face. Yeah, so Dakota, he says, I tend to stay away from the unknown. Right, so it may be a little bit before you raise your hand to join. And it may be something that you may find fun and exciting and short. It's a short little project that you may want to, shall we say, dip your toe into it to learn and to start to, and I know Carrie's going to love this, get more and more involved here at FSCJ. And really the customer is you, your increased knowledge, your experience, and your success. So using these basic principles of projects, of managing projects, really is managing you as a project. So scope, cost, and time. Those are kind of like the guardrails. Scope, cost, and time. We always focus on what are we doing, how much is it going to cost, and how long is it going to take? Pretty simple. Please feel free to put anything in the chat. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free. Okay, so, and at the very end, everyone is energized. Our customers, as I had in parentheses, are energized and satisfied because it's done successfully. Now, I will say that there are times when maybe they aren't done successfully. Maybe there's scope creep, some project management methodology stuff I'm not going to get into, but let's just say for purposes of this, that this project is successful and everyone is energized and satisfied and happy and joyful, etc. And the great thing is, as a business consultant for many years, you may be asked to be on yet another project team. They may ask you for another contract. Yes, yay, we love that. Want another contract. I was with clients for 10 years and just went from project to project. Why? Because projects have a start and an end date and they're temporary. You have a client that's being implemented, poof, you move on to the next one. It's great. So you may, say as a consultant, ask to be, they may ask you, for another contract. We love that. They may, if you are here at FSCJ, or if you are working full-time somewhere, they may ask you to serve on another project team. Or you may move into another project for your home because it didn't take nearly the scope, cost, and time that perhaps you were afraid that it might. So always focusing on that scope, cost, and time, leading to quality and leading to happy customers and leading to a happy you. All right, so any questions before I move on, or any comments? Any thoughts? Have you participated in some sort of a project in the past? Especially say if you're an FSCJ person, have you participated in a project? And Sherry, I'm going to mention you for a moment because Sherry's a librarian, and a small project. She and I worked together to have Sherry come and speak to my classes about library and learning commons and about academic writer and everything that comes along with that. So the students walked away with increased knowledge, and it was a short endeavor. It was, pretty much a slam dunk, so to speak. So what are the project steps? So how do we do this, right? How do we do this? And keeping it very simple today, keeping it very simple and no fear with this, with the project steps. The first is to think big. Wow, I never thought I could put together a barn door. Wow, I never thought that I could put a bike together. What are some projects that you want to work on? And there's no silly questions. There's no right or wrong answers. You know, what is it that you want to achieve? Initiating, think big. This is where we, in class, I talk about, different types of analysis and keeping it simple and just writing and writing and writing all the different things that would go into putting a bike together. That goes into a Girl Scout cookie drive. That goes into completing the semester. A couple more weeks. That goes into graduating. So thinking big. This is what I want to do. And then planning, and we're going to focus a lot on this. Planning is key. Know your customer when you're planning. Many of us go, I'm not going to do a poll, but you can even say yes or no in the chat. Is let's say that you're putting a bike together. How many of us, okay, I'm going to put the bike, we're going to go get bikes. We've been cooped up for a year. We're going to go bike. We're going to go buy bikes and I'm going to put them together. That's the initiating. Then you get home and you dump all the pieces out. You don't read the directions. You don't put them all in nice little neat piles of pieces. And you just jump into what we call executing, is doing it, getting it done. Uh-oh. How many of us have done something like that and we've had a couple pieces left over? Or maybe we didn't put the bike together correctly because we didn't plan by looking at the directions. So planning is key to make sure that when we execute, which I'm talking about next, it gets done, not just get it done, but get it done correctly. And thanks, Emily. These steps really helped your senior project team follow the plan and measure our progress, kept us on track for our deadlines with no stress. So hold on to that thought about measuring progress. Yes, so first we initiate. I'm going to buy the bikes. We're going to get healthy, blah, blah, blah. Then we bring the bikes home and we plan. We lay the pieces out and we put the bike together, putting the bike together as the executing phase. But what do we frequently do? I'm going to make a birthday cake. And then we start putting the birthday cake together and we realize we don't have salt. We realize we don't have, I don't know what else, icing, whatever it might be, because we failed to plan. So planning is the number one step in all of this, not number one in numeric order, but the biggest. And project managers will tell you that over and over again, that you need to plan. We need to plan. Many of us go right from initiating to executing, to getting it done. So the executing really is, I'm executing this last lecture series today. We're getting it done. Carrie is helping me. He's monitoring and controlling. And this is exactly what Emily is talking about, to measure our progress. I'm executing, Carrie's keeping us on track. He's checking the time. He's checking the participants. He's checking the chat. He's ensuring that it's recorded. That's the monitoring and controlling and measuring our progress. If this was a project, let's say, Carrie may be the one to pull the daily statistics. He may be the one to ensure that we've got our weekly meetings set up, that the emails go out about FSCJ happenings. That's the monitoring and controlling piece, the measuring the progress of those of us that are executing the project, all of us here today. So monitoring and controlling is super important. So you may have your son or daughter whom you're building the bike. You may have them with you monitoring and controlling and reading those directions and making sure that you've got all the parts correct so that you can all enjoy the bike. And like Emily says, no stress of, this bike isn't going to work. You know, I mean, we've all done it. It's okay. Right? I mean, we've done that with trying to put gas grills together. Oh, yeah. You know, so we all have examples of that, and it's okay. So perhaps if there is one thing to walk out with today, it's to plan. So let's see, Stephanie says, okay, yes, sometimes I'm so focused on the outcome and results, I forget to pace myself. Yes, along the way. So that's where that time comes in, to make sure that you give yourself enough time. And so that, you know, kind of conversely, to not rush through something, because you're right, you may be left over, you may have leftover parts, your cake may fall, whatever. So Dakota starts with no plan. Okay. All right. So you're starting, and that's fine, because you're starting in the initiating, where you're thinking big and going along next with the planning, and then executing, monitoring, and controlling, having somebody with you, and then the closing. And that's the way to go. That is the celebrate, the lessons learned, the happiness, the joy that you see on people's faces. Your son or daughter is riding their bike, the birthday person is enjoying the birthday cake. So the closing is the way to go. You know, yippee, let's do it. And so, you know, we'll have a closing here also, because it's important to ensure that with the project it ends, you know, and so that also is the closing. So that too, if you're a business consultant, you move on to the next project, right? So you close this one, you move on to the next one. And we will be having an activity in a few minutes around planning, because it is so important. Let's just make sure. One other thing too, the steps that I'm indicating here, and I am going to go ahead and, oops, put something in the chat, are from the Project Management Institute, and that is the governing body for project management. And that's a great resource if you want to learn more about project management. The initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and controlling, and closing are the steps, or what we call process groups, that they use. Now, that being said, there's other what we call methodologies like Six Sigma. They use different terminology, like define, measure, analyze, implement, and control. So you may hear different terminology, but they're all very similar. So again, for purposes of today, I'm following the strong foundation of PMI, the Project Management Institute. And the book that we use for the class, Introduction to Project Management, is also based on PMI. So you know you're going to the source. So Emily loves planning. I make a list every Monday for all the homework. Yay, I have that week with a notepad and pen. So I always have it in view on my desk, and I can feel satisfied. Yes, watching items get crossed off. So she's planning as she's executing. She's monitoring and controlling by crossing things off of her list. And she's closing at the end of the week, right? Or even you could even say that crossing them off is closing as well. How does that, Stephanie, if I may ask, and you want to, or I'm sorry, Emily, how does that make you feel? Does that bring you joy? Like you said, satisfied. Does it bring you joy to cross those things off your list and to use the planning process? I don't know, Emily, if you know that was to you or to anyone really. Do you have ways that you like to, you know, cross things off of your list, or ways that you like to plan through use of calendar, through a notepad lists, a notepad? What are some things that you like to use? I know students really like the due dates that are in Canvas for when things are due. Yes, it's on the syllabus, but when is it due? You know, it's usually due, that's the end date. We work back from that. So students really, you don't, okay, so Don't. There you go. Okay, great. All right, so let's keep going then. Right page here. All right, so a key part of planning is what we call the work breakdown structure. And this is the step by step. This is like the move those chains in football, you know, to ensure that we, you know, we do plan. Oh, there's Emily's reply. I'll finish this in a second. You know, to ensure that we don't miss a step, that it helps us to manage the scope, and it lists what needs to be done. So Emily says, it helps me not get overwhelmed seeing the things I need to do in an organized format. So I can take it one step at a time. Perfect. Yes, that's the work breakdown structure. I don't get stressed or worried that I forgot something. I have it all crossed out early and I celebrate. Yes, you celebrate with something fun and relaxing before making a new. So you reward yourself. So it gets back to that whole project management and you for the next week. So good. That's perfect for what we're talking about here with the work, you know, technical term work breakdown structure, but it's really being organized and listing what needs to be done and when. Or like I said, you know, move those chains. All right. So now let's get in, see if I can, okay. So everybody, we're going to make a meatloaf. What? Make a meatloaf? Is making a meatloaf a project? Yes. So in the chat, tell me, who's already planned dinner? Have you given any thought? Have you initiated what you are going to do for dinner tonight? Thanks, Carrie. Everything is a project, even making a meatloaf, even planning dinner. Right. So Carrie's going to make meatloaf tonight. You'd be surprised. It's so true. The number of students. The next week I'll say, okay, who had meatloaf this week? Pretty much everybody in some form. Dakota thinks McDonald's. Okay. So, you know, when we think of a work breakdown structure, or when we think of, let's just say step by step in making a meatloaf, what are some of the things we got to think about? We need a shopping list. Do we need a shopping list? That lists everything to help us plan. Do we have a recipe that we like to use? Speaking of recipe, just kind of as an aside, right, ingredients, our oven at home, our oven, like blew up. I swear we almost had a fire. I was on a conference call and I heard it going beep, 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 because I forget what we were making. And we had to, so basically we have no oven. We have stovetop, but we have no oven. So I'm going to try, and so many students have talked about, and usually we break into small groups, have talked about doing a meatloaf in a crock pot. I know it really, really was scary because there was smoke coming out from the oven. It went up to like 500 and some degrees. It just had a mind of its own. As an aside, my husband tried, you know, turning it off from the breaker, turning it on and off, and it was scary. You're right. So let's now, all right, we're already into it. This is exciting. First of all, let's think about our customer to make a meatloaf. Is there anybody, and you can say yes or no, that says, I don't eat meat. I want turkey meatloaf. So focusing on I say here, make a meatloaf, but really we're looking at our customer and who is our family in this case. So yeah, so your sister's picky, so maybe we shouldn't use meat. Maybe we'll use a vegan recipe. Maybe we'll use a turkey recipe. So you may have some folks who have allergies. What are some things, let's say we make a regular meatloaf, but what are some things that you put in a meatloaf that if we don't plan appropriately, could cause somebody to have an allergic reaction. So we need to know who our customers are. Maybe eggs. Somebody's got an allergic reaction to eggs. Well, we know that we shouldn't put eggs in there. So we have to plan for that. So can you see where I'm going with it? Everything is a project, even down to making a meatloaf, even down to making dinner. So let's continue real quick. Well, actually, let me back up before we get into some of the ingredients and steps. How much are we going to spend? How much are we going to spend per person? This is our budget for our meatloaf. And I'm just focusing on the meatloaf. I'm not focusing on the whole dinner, you know, mac and cheese or green beans or potatoes or whatever. You know, roughly $4, right? Budget is a key part of a project. Thanks, Emily. Yes. $4 a person? $2? Sure. Whatever works for you and your family in this case. Absolutely. Absolutely. Maybe somebody has to have a certain type of meat that maybe costs more. So let's go with $4. Thanks, Dakota. Yeah. So let's go $4 per person. Our family of 4, $12 to $15 for this meal. All right. So what are we going to put in? Oh, one more thing. So we got scope. I'm going to expand on the scope in a minute. We got cost, but like for a family of 4, about $12 to $15 or so, $16. And time. How much time do we have to put into getting that meatloaf on the table and have everybody enjoy it, and it'll be delicious? And do we have to, as part of our planning, make sure that we turn the oven on while we are, you know, cutting up the ingredients and making the meatloaf? What happens if we don't turn the oven on? So we don't have meatloaf, right? So we need to know what the recipe is. We need to know what the steps are to make a meatloaf. Have you ever done that where you forgot to turn the oven on? We have some hungry family members. All right, so now let's have some fun with what are some ingredients that we're going to talk about ingredients. We're going to talk about tools, and we're going to talk about just the whole kind of process of making a meatloaf. So let's talk first, as part of our scope. I'm just reading what Emily says. Project priorities: drive farther to the special organic grocery store for more tasty meatloaf or for something quick and inexpensive. And yeah, it's interesting, Emily, because sometimes I'll have student groups that will say, we're just going to go to Publix, or we're just going to go to Winn-Dixie and get a meatloaf. Well, okay. You know, but that's part of their plan. That's part of their plan. But for purposes of today, let's start with what would be some of the ingredients, and you know, have fun with this. I've seen some delicious looking sounding ingredients in your meatloaf. So that's part of the scope. So what would be some of the ingredients, and do we have them in our pantry, and do we need to put them on our shopping list? That's part of the monitoring and control. Go to Bono's, right? So what are some ingredients that you'd put in your meatloaf? Because this is all part of planning. This is all part of then executing. What are some things? Would you make a meatloaf? Would you make a vegan loaf? Would you make a turkey loaf? What would you do? And this is open to anybody. All right, so we got ketchup, onion powder. Let's say we're going to use actual meat, you know, or maybe a combination of meat and turkey. I've seen that. So ketchup, onion powder, garlic. What else? Onion, garlic, salt, pepper, breadcrumbs, eggs, ketchup, 1 egg, a cup of milk, a pound of meat, chopped onions. Carrie has made this before. He's got it down exactly. Ground beef, onion, eggs, breadcrumbs. Yes. I've seen in other classes, just, as an aside, cheese, grated cheese. I've seen hot sauces, so you need to know your customer. You need to know, in this case, your family. I, for one, couldn't do the hot sauce, but what you guys have here is fine. So it just depends, so here we go again with that quality, that final meatloaf. So what would be some steps, including, and I'll also give us one step, going to the grocery store, because what? Maybe we don't have the meat. Maybe we don't have the onion, mayo. So that's one of the steps in our planning. I need to stop by the store and I need my list of ingredients that I need to get. How many of us have made a cake, a meatloaf, whatever, and we are missing an ingredient? It's because we forgot to plan all the time. Thanks, Emily. Yeah. Yeah, Allison, thanks. Sure. It's because maybe we don't plan our whole weekly meals, Dakota, not yet. Okay, excellent. McDonald's is good though. That's true too, like what you said earlier. All right, so we have our grocery list. Let's say we've gone to the grocery store, we're back home, and now we are actually going to execute. I'm going to make that meatloaf. What are some steps? What are some tools and resources that we need to use? I'll step back here a moment, because there's really no right or wrong answer. It really is dependent on your own specific family, your own clients, to put forth a quality meatloaf. So we've already discussed making sure that we turn on the oven, right, while we're making the ingredients. Thank you, Carrie. That's what I was looking for. One of the things, heat the oven to 350. Sherry, absolutely, a loaf pan, mixing bowl, utensils. We want to measure. Exactly. Yep. Good. Steph set a timer so you don't burn it. Yes. So these are all tasks that go into our project of making a meatloaf. So is there anything else that you can, so we've got the scope of making a meatloaf, what kind of meatloaf we're going to make. We've got our cost, and we've got the time, and it depends. I think we said an hour and a half here, right, to make a meatloaf. So how do we close the project? When is the project closed? Serve and enjoy, yay! When we sit down to eat it, exactly, right. And enjoy, and bring joy. When everybody's smiling, yes. And this is just one piece. Hey, Meta, how are you? I didn't see you join in. Nice to see you. And this is just one piece of, say, making dinner. For today, we just made a meatloaf. But can you see these steps and how just the various process steps and the focus on scope, cost, and time is so, I'm hungry now, yes, is so important, even to something just as simple as making a meatloaf. Yeah, we're kind of hungry now. You're right, Dakota, exactly. All right, so I hope that was a fun activity to bring home, shall we say, the thought of project management, even in something as simple as dinner, making a meatloaf. And if you wanted to, you could then take this and expand it into side dishes. Who's going to clean up? All that would go into if you were doing, say, a formal big project on dinner. But we're just doing one on making the meatloaf. So you guys did a great job. So before we continue, and I see it's like 1:15 already. Wow. Any other thoughts or questions or ideas for making a meatloaf? But you can see too how important it is to focus on the client, focus on the customer, to make sure that we make, we hit allergies, we hit food preferences, etc. And that's all part of keeping the end in mind. All right, so it sounds like we're all hungry. All right, so grab this. So two things I'm going to leave you with today. Vision, and this is a Japanese proverb, vision without action is a daydream, and action without vision is a nightmare. So vision without action is a daydream. One thing you've been thinking about, you've been envisioning, but you haven't done it yet, is a daydream. Oh, and thank you, Carrie. Great point on the customer. What you want may not be what the customer wants or can have, you know. And then action without vision is a nightmare. So that gets into dumping that box out of bicycle parts. So you're going to take action, but you have, and yes, you may have a vision, but you don't know exactly how to get there. So that can be a nightmare. So how does this proverb, this Japanese proverb, speak to you based on what you've learned today? Anything in particular? And you may be hearing in the background construction. There's a big project going on right now in replacing the elevator here at Kent campus. Don't second guess yourself. Yes, that's good. Good. Anything else that speaks to you about this Japanese proverb? Vision plus action equals successful project. Yes. And then another one, and this is by Robert Herjavec. I think that's how you say it, off Shark Tank and many other multi-million gazillionaire kind of guy. I really like him. A goal without a deadline is just a dream. So you can have a goal of graduating, but if you don't set a deadline, it's just a dream. So set that deadline and then work backwards. Proceed with a plan or experience a hot mess. Yeah, right, Carrie, exactly. So goal without a deadline is just a dream. And I want to share with you this quilt. It's really, really amazing what a small world it is. A student here in this class, in my project management class, makes quilts. And her project was to do a quilt for a 2020 graduate up in Pennsylvania, up in a high school in Pennsylvania. We followed the process steps each week. If you've been in that class, you know what I'm talking about. We follow the process and we follow the different templates. And at the very end, we build a project book. And that project book becomes a part of the student's career portfolio that they can present to employers or to their current employees. Say like, hey, I've done this project. I've successfully completed a project simulation. I want to raise my hand to be on a project team. Just part of their toolbox. So at the very end, we do a final project book. And this quilt that she did was, like I said, for a graduate, but the graduate was from the same small town in Pennsylvania that I graduated from. I had no idea it was the same school in Pennsylvania until the very end when she had pictures as part of her final project book. So projects are all around us. Who would have thought that a student in our project management, and we offer a lot of different project management, sections with different professors, would have done a project that linked back to my old high school, which was totally amazing to me. So projects are all around us. So I want us to enjoy the journey. It is a small world, Carrie. That was really incredible. It is just don't sing it. It is just don't sing it. I'm not sure what that means, but it is a small world. Oh, I get it. I won't sing it. Don't worry, Dakota. So in the chat, post one project action step that you're going to try as you look at your personal and professional life. And if we were in class, or if we were in, in a session, say in a conference room, I would have us put this on a sticky note, and then I would have you place this on your mirror, your bathroom mirror, your laptop, or like Emily said, writing it down, keeping it handy so that you can see what that goal, what that vision is, and maybe even place what the due date is going to be. So what is one thing that you think you might use what you've learned today, or enhance what you're already doing? Yay, Sherry, I love academic writer. And I've referred so many students. Yes, short videos, please. I would love to help, if you need somebody. See, it's so natural, right? Raising my hand. I'll be part of that project team, right? Or maybe we have students who'd like to be part of it too. So keep us posted. Yes. What else? Anyone? I'll be in touch. Dakota's a writer. Excellent. So finishing them. So set an end date. Maybe set an end date for the first one and an end date for the second one. Excellent. And Sherry's a librarian, and we may have other librarians on here today that maybe can help you with that. I'm speaking maybe out of turn, Sherry, so don't quote me on that. David Harris, hi. I didn't see you join in. Nice to see you. Oh, good. So Sherry's happy to help you, Dakota. There you go. Isn't that what it's all about? So now we've formed a project team for Dakota's book. Sherry's formed a project team for her short videos on academic writer. So Sharon's going to be a life coach. Excellent. By the end of the year. Sharon, we can be part of your project team if you need role plays. Yes, congrats, Sharon. If you need somebody to help you with role plays, we're here for you. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, I am so thankful that you were here today and that you actively participated. And if you need any help, or, need some guidance on how to get from where you want to go to now, starting at the end and working backwards and developing a plan. I know that I'm saying I know, but Carrie, correct me, that our student life and leadership teams, our academic advisors can help us as well, So you've got your own project team working here today just by participating. So thank you, everyone. Any last minute thoughts or questions? And then, oh, thanks, Emily. I love having you in class too. And those who've joined me, Stephanie, I think some others. I'm not going to scroll up, but it's always good to see familiar names. Oh, so glad that yay, I love fun. I love joy and fun. Yay. So Carrie, why don't I let you take us home here, Carrie?
All right. Well, Professor Goodell, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and wisdom. Congratulations on being nominated by your students to give the last lecture. And it looks like from the response we received on the chat that our participants have enjoyed learning more about this. And I'm sure our students and staff that can watch the tape as well will also gain some knowledge as well from what you've shared today. So again, thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for all that you do for the college.
My pleasure. And Ellison, I love seeing you too. Hi. So everybody, thank you, Carrie, for this opportunity. And thank you to the students who nominated me. Thank you so much.